Hello everyone, this is Suresh from Azure ADB. Today our topic is how to replace nulls using ISNULL or IFNULL or by using no ISNULL function. So I already made one video on this topic, how to use ISNULL or IFNULL function using SQL. So this is 16th video in my SQL playlist. So in continuation that I'm creating this video. So first we'll see how to use ISNULL or IFNULL function in SQL. So here what I'm doing is, so before that, so what is the basic point for ISNULL or IFNULL is, suppose if you have any null values in your particular column, so it will replace with specified value. Suppose wherever you find non-null value, it will retain as it is. So that means it will replace its null values with specified replacement value. So that means our syntax is this one. Our syntax is this one, is null, expression, and replacement value. So if expression is null, it will replace with our replacement value. If expression is non-null value, then it will return itself. See here, if it return a specified value if the expression is null. Otherwise, it returns expression itself. So these two things we have to remember here. So first what I'm doing is I'm creating table here. So I have this many columns for this particular table and I'm passing means I'm inserting these rows to this particular table. So see here, I have this many columns in this particular table. So on top of this table, what I'm doing is, so I'm trying to replace the null values on few columns. So first I'm trying to do in first name column. So this is our first name column. And if you see here in this, we have few nulls here. So these nulls I'm going to replace with some replacement value. So if you see here, our syntax is if null and our expression is column, that is first name column. And in this column, wherever null is there, I want to replace with first name. Okay, so I given alias as full name. So if you see this particular column, and if you see respective, wherever null is there, it is replacing with first name. See here, first name. And similar way, so here two nulls are there, it replacing with first name. And a similar way, and next I'm trying to do on middle name column. If you see middle name column, so we have two nulls here, and at the bottom we have two nulls. So these two nulls I'm replacing with middle name. See here, if null, and this is my expression. Expression is middle name column, and wherever nulls is there, I want to replace with middle name. And if you see here, these two are nulls, and here it replacing with middle name. And similar way, we have nulls at bottom. So these two replaced with middle name. And similar way, last name. If you see this particular column, so here also we have some nulls here. So these nulls I'm going to replace with last name. So if you see here, this null it is replacing with last name, and this null replacing with last name. This one replacing with last name. Here also it replacing with the last name. So for on three columns, I used if null function. Okay, so if null, expression, and replacement value. And next we'll see. Next, what we'll do is, so first I took first name, middle name, last name column. See here. So I have these three columns here. And here, what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to uh, do replacement value on these two columns, first name, middle name. So as of now, what we did is, so we take one expression, so that is column, and we are defining the value. So we are giving manually. So what replacement value need to do? So in this case, what I'm trying to do is the replacement value should take from this middle name column. Okay, so my syntax is if null, first name, middle name. And if you see in first name, so we have some nulls here. So these nulls, what it has to do is, it has to replace from middle name column. The replacement value should take from this middle name column. So now I given this as full name. So we'll see how it replacing here. So how it works is, so first it will come to these two value. So if null, first name, middle name. So if null of Rupesh, comma, null. So here what will happen? As per our syntax, our expression is Rupesh. Since Rupesh is non-null value, it will return as it is. So we are getting Rupesh here. Next similar way here, Roshan, comma, null. So Roshan is expression. So it will return Roshan. And if you see here, Rasi and Govardhan. So here also expression is non-null value, it giving as it is Rasi. Next, if you come to here, this scenario, so if null and our expression is null and replacement value is Kasi. So now null is there, so it will replace with Kasi. Okay, so if you see here, Kasi. And a similar way, if you see here, if null and inside that our expression is null and middle name is Kalki. So this null is replacing with Kalki. And if you see this scenario, if null and our expression is null and replacement value is also null. So we are getting same nulls here because actually our nulls need to replace with some specified value. But here also we have nulls, replacement value is also nulls, then it giving null. So next, here we'll see what is the difference between if null and coalesce. So when to use if null and when to use coalesce. So if you see here, so I'm applying on these three columns. So if null, one restriction is you can pass only two parameters. Okay, so either is null or if null, you can pass only two parameters. One is expression, one is replacement value. But in case of coalesce, you can pass as many expressions as possible. And replacement value also you can pass here. So that is the main difference between if null and coalesce. So here coalesce, what I'm doing is in expression, I'm giving these three columns. So that means first name, middle name, last name. And what I'm telling here is default. So what is this syntax meaning is, since I given these three columns, so first what will happen? First it will take this record, first record. So what is there? Coalesce of Rupesh, null, null. So what coalesce does is, it will take first non-null value. So from these three expressions, what is our non-null value? That is Rupesh. So it will take Rupesh here. See here, customer name will get Rupesh. And if you come to here, second one, we have coalesce of Roshan, null, Sweta. So here we have two non-null values. But what it will return is first non-null value, that is Roshan. So we are getting Roshan. And if you come to this record, coalesce of Rasi, Govardhan, null. So here we have two non-null values, but it will return first non-null value. So that is Rasi. Next, it will come to this one, this record. So here coalesce of null, Kasi, Gupta. So what will happen? So here also two non-nulls are there, but it will pick up first non-null value, that is causing. And similar way here. So here we have all three non-null values. So what will happen? It will pick first non-null value, that is Ganesh. And it will go so on. And so here also, if you see three coalesce of null, null, Dorai. So we have only one non-null value, so that it will print here. But if you come to this scenario, so coalesce of, here we have all three null values. So then what to do? So here we don't have any non-null value. So in this particular condition, this default value it will take. See here, default. So wherever non-null value is not available based on these three columns, like this, if you have all nulls, then it will take this default value. Okay, so now you understand clearly when to use IFNULL and how to use coalesce function. Next, what I'm doing is, so normally when to use ISNULL. So earlier, so if you see IFNULL, we are using expression and directly using replacement value. This is a simple thing. But what is the real-time example when to use ISNULL function? So here, what I'm doing, so I have three columns, first name, middle name, last name. And here what I'm doing is I'm trying to concat. I'm trying to concat all, all these columns by keeping space here. So we'll see what will happen. So, and a given column name is full name. See here. So I'm applying on these three columns. So first it will go for this. So concat of Rupesh, null, null. So concat, what will happen if you have any nulls in past parameters, we will get output as null. And here also Roshan, null, Sweta. So, but we have one null value, it will print null. So that means if we have any single null also, we'll get output as null. But if you see here, so we have all three non-null values. So it giving output. And if you see all other records, so at least one null is there. If you see here, one null is there, here one null, so here one null, here two nulls are there, here all three nulls are there. So wherever null is there, it printing output as null. Okay, so this kind of scenario, how to handle. So, and similar example, one more thing is, so we have these three columns, product sold, items order, item price. So that is this one. So these three columns. So on these three columns, what I'm doing is, first I'm trying to add product sold plus item order, product sold plus item order, and I'm multiplying with item price, this column. So that means first I'm trying to add these two columns, product sold, item order. So 100 plus 50, 150 into item price, 150 into 200, it giving you 30,000. And if you come to this expression, so 200 plus null, 200 plus null and multiplied by 300. So we are getting null. So if you see here, 150 plus 50, 200 into 100, 20,000 we are getting. But here 125 plus null into 400 and we are getting null. So that means wherever null is there, we are getting null. So for both these scenarios, whenever you are doing calculation and whenever you are trying to do concatenation. So then how to replace or how to avoid these nulls for these two scenarios. So here what we are doing is inside concat I'm using if null function. Okay, so first name. So what here I'm trying to do is, so earlier we try to concat all these three columns, first name, middle name, last name. So if you observe all these columns, for uh, for each column we have some nulls. Okay, so first what I'm trying to do is, first I'm replacing nulls with some value for each and every column. So if you take first name column, so here I'm using if null, and if null on first name column, if any nulls is there, I want to replace with first name. So here what will happen? So wherever null is there, it will replace with first name. And a similar way, I'm using if null on this middle name column, and wherever null is there, it will replace with middle name. And a similar way, if null on last name column, so wherever null is there, it will replace with this last name. And I given full name. So what will happen if you see null? Suppose you take this one, this particular row. So here we are trying to do concat of all these three columns. If you don't use if null, it will give null. So here what I'm trying to do is if null first name of first name. So our expression is non-null value, it will return same. So this output is, will get this Rupesh. Next we'll come to this one. So if null middle name, middle name. So that means here we have our expression is null, so it will replace with middle name. So what will happen? Rupesh, and here we're getting middle name, and we given space here. See here, Rupesh space middle name. Next, last name. So if null, last name, last name. So here null is there, it will replace with last name. So here Rupesh space middle name space last name. And similar way here also. If you see this case, so we have one null. So in middle name column, what will happen? This null replace with middle name. See here, Roshan space middle name space Sweta. And similar way here also. So Rasi Govardhan, and for this last name column, we'll get this one. This null is going to replace with last name. And similar way here. So this null is going to replace with first name space Kasi space Gupta. So like this, it will replace wherever null is there. So here we don't have, we'll get as it is. So here this null replace with last name, and here it will replace with first name. Here it will replace with last name. Okay, so here we have all nulls. So then what will happen? So first null is replacing with first name, second null is replacing with middle name, third one is last name. Okay, so it will replace like this. Next, we have one more scenario. So here we are getting nulls. So here what I'm trying to do is, if you see products sold, so in this we don't have any nulls. So in this particular column, we don't have nulls. So this also we don't have nulls. So we have nulls only in this particular column. So that's why here I'm trying to use if null function on this items order. So if null items order and 0. So that means wherever null is there, I'm replacing with 0. And if you see here, product sold. So here I'm going to explain only wherever null is there. So that is 200, and if null items order of 0. So for this column, it will replace with 0. So 200 plus 0, 200 and multiplied by item price. Multiplied by item price 300. So 200 into 300, we are getting 60,000. And similar way here, 125 plus 0 into 400, that is 50,000. And here also 120 plus 0. So 120 into 200, we are getting 24,000. So, okay, so this is the main example when why we need to use ISNULL function. So next we'll see what is not ISNULL. So this is quite opposite to ISNULL function. So here what I'm doing, here I'm creating one table for this. Table implies not ISNULL. So this is my table here. And if you see in bonus column, we have few nulls here. So on top of this, what I'm trying to do is, so here I'm using not ISNULL function in where class. So here select star from this table. I'm trying to filter some columns based on this function. So here what I'm trying to do is where in where condition not. So I'm using not. So if you see if null up to here, if you see this, what it does is if null bonus of 0. So that means wherever nulls is there in bonus column, it will replace with 0. So first it will do this one. Next, what it means is not if null bonus of 0 is equal to 0. That means it excluding rows wherever bonus is null or 0. So we have two null records is there. Two null records are there. So what will happen? It will exclude those rows here. See here in bonus column, wherever we have non-null value, it giving only those values. So normally we can give only this one, not if null bonus of 0. We can give up to here. But why it is given equal to 0 also? That means, so suppose you consider your data frame has both nulls and zeros. So now to explain this scenario also, that means equal to 0. So what I did is I updated a few more records with 0. Okay, so here I added 2 0 records here for bonus column. See here now we have 2 nulls here and here additionally we have 2 zeros also. So if you want to if you want to filter only nulls, okay, so you can use directly this one is null bonus of 0. No need to mention equal to 0. So now here I have some zeros also in this bonus column. So for that, what I'm trying to do is first I'm replacing nulls with 0 in bonus column, replacing with 0. So that means these two records will get replaced with 0. Then I'm giving filter condition where not is equal to 0. So that means I want to filter other than 0 records. So if you see here, these 2, 3, 4. So total 4 records we have zeros. Since I given not, so we want other records, non-null records other than 0. So that means these 3 records will get here. Okay, so suppose if I use here without not, if I use directly if function, if I directly filter with if function, then our result will be different. See here, I'm using not. So if I try to run this, yeah, see here, so our result will be quite opposite. So that means, so we are filtering only records wherever zero is there and nulls are there. So why it giving null here is, so first we are replacing nulls with zero and we are trying to filter. So here we are getting both null and zeros. So we are not getting other values. So here not and without not. So next what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to count rows with non-null and non-zero bonus column values. So here what I'm doing is, so here I'm mentioning not by using not function. So instead of select star, I'm using count star. So I want to know how many records are there for this condition. Okay, so in not condition, if you see here, so we are getting three records. That means other than zero and null. So total we have seven records. And in this, other than zero and nulls, we have three records. So that it giving count as three. So that it giving us count three. If you check other way around, so here I'm removing not. Without not, I'm checking here. So now it will give you 4. Count will be 4 because we have two nulls and two zero records we have. See here 4. So next we'll see one more thing. How to filtering rows that have an actual value. So non-zero. So what will happen? It returns only employees whose bonus is greater than or equal to 1 after replacing null with 0. So here I'm using not and here condition is same if null bonus 0. So that means wherever null is there, I'm replacing with 0. Okay, so I'm replacing with 0 and after that I'm checking. So that value where bonus value is less than 1. So here I'm getting these three values. Okay, so we can filter like this by using not if null function. So that's all about this video, how to use is null and not is null function in SQL. So if you really like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.